Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And Brexit has blown up again this week as our hapless, unelected Brexit minister has bumbled his way through press releases and a parliamentary committee hearing that was very kind to him, being manned by prominent Brexiteers, but he still managed to trip up. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I've entitled this discussion, The Brexit Question That Boris Johnson Has No Answer To. Of course, he doesn't really have an answer to any Brexit question, but he waffles his way through them and bangs on about sovereignty and flags. Used to bang on about fish as well, doesn't really talk about that now. But there is one that if the media were to hammer at it would cause the government to come completely unstuck. It's related to the comparison of trade barriers between Britain and EU countries and those between Britain and Northern Ireland. Remember that there are no incoming checks as such, nothing of consequence on goods coming into Britain from the EU really. Our borders are wide open to not only new and exciting variants of the coronavirus, but smugglers, EU businesses as well. So we're talking about exports here. When it comes to exports from Britain directly to the EU, customs checks are being carried out on the EU side. Obviously, customs checks take place where the goods are coming into a country. Because we don't have the systems and staff to cope, France, the Netherlands, Belgium and so on spent the past few years preparing. We spent the past few years pissing about electing Etonians who never actually do anything if it's left to them. Then we made the mistake of leaving everything to them. However, the checks covering goods passing from Britain to Northern Ireland are carried out by the UK because, well, the border's inside the UK. Both sides of the border are the UK. It's very strange. It's very unusual in the world. It may even be unique. Probably not quite unique. But to have a customs border where the same government controls both sides of it. So in response to some of David Frost's nonsense in front of MPs, David Hennick had a rather good question. It came as a result of David Frost, our unelected Brexit minister, having the nerve to lie to MPs by saying that the initial disruptions at the borders with the EU had been largely overcome. Now, before I go on, I do want to point out that this is not the main point. At the start, when these disruptions at the borders that David Frost has been talking about this week were happening, the government were denying that they're even taking place. When they were occurring, it's like, oh, there's no problems at all. Oh, what's all this nonsense? There's no issues at all. Now they're admitting that there were issues. And that's the thing with these, and you have to watch them. They will quite happily admit to the most terrible things as long as it's in the past. They never admit to them when it's happening right now. But anyway, so he said that those disruptions at the border with the EU had been largely overcome. Now, for those who don't know, by the way, David Hennick is a trade expert who specialises in post-Brexit trade analysis. He asked, if the initial disruptions of exports to the EU administered by the French and others have largely been overcome, how come those to Northern Ireland, administered by the UK, have not? And it's things like this that, if you didn't otherwise know, highlight just how complicit our media are in all this. Boris Johnson and his team, just like Trump, are not even consistent with their lies. They will claim mutually exclusive things, and they'll just present one lie to one group of people as necessary or at a time as necessary, and say the opposite to a different group of people or a different time. Because the checks at the border between Britain and, let's say, France, because that's where the bulk is going to go across Dover, because they are full, the complete set of checks required for a third country exporting to the EU is in place there. The checks required of goods passing from Britain to Northern Ireland are actually lighter, because we have to consider in the fullness of time they will have to be the same, but we have the grace periods. So there aren't any requirements for goods going from Britain to Northern Ireland that are not required for ones going to France. That's the key thing. There's nothing extra for goods passing to Northern Ireland. So this unelected government minister is claiming that there aren't problems with trade between Britain and France, or what problems there are aren't worth talking about. That's what he said. Yet this same bubblehead is also claiming that the problems of trade between Britain and Northern Ireland, which are managed by him and his cabinet colleagues, is in such disarray that it threatens peace in Northern Ireland. And this is how it needs to be phrased, because if they claim that there are no serious problems in passing goods to France, where French customs are managing it, but there are immense problems with passing goods to Ireland, where there are fewer restrictions at the moment and it is managed by the UK, why? Why are the French so much better at managing customs arrangements than we are? That is what journalists should be asking David Frost. That is what MPs should be asking any minister, even remotely involved in Brexit. It's also what Keir Starmer should ask Boris Johnson in Parliament today. Actually, at the time you're watching this, he's probably asking these questions or has already asked them. It's likely he will, not have. I am going to guess this will not be one of the questions he has asked. Now, if France can manage the customs checks with no significant disruption, surely what we should do is ask the French government if they wouldn't mind showing us how they did it. I mean, we obviously have much to learn. Of course, the alternative is that there is still severe disruption as goods pass from Britain to France. And for their own purposes, the government are downplaying it. In reality, it's probably somewhere in between. France did spend years preparing for Brexit and we didn't. That's a fact. As a result, of course, it's reasonable to believe that their systems will be more advanced and will work more efficiently than ours. In fact, the reason why the EU allowed us grace periods to implement the Northern Ireland Protocol in stages is because we hadn't prepared. If we even tried to implement full checks, we'd have created severe food shortages in Northern Ireland, just as we'd experience in Britain if we tried to implement checks on EU goods coming here. This is why we're not doing it. We said we're going to put the checks in at the end of June. We're not doing that. No. They daren't let us see food shortages here. But it's also untrue to say that disruptions have largely been dealt with in EU trade. They haven't and they never will. We are a third country with respect to the EU. Our deal doesn't really help that much. It removes tariffs on quite a lot of goods. We still have mountains of paperwork to fill out. That doesn't go away, at the very least. We sometimes need health or other certification, registration sometimes needed, different labelling on some goods as well. There are plenty of costs to trading with the EU now that didn't exist before, and there are still delays as a result of having to complete the paperwork and have it checked. It's just believable that those delays are much less when managed by EU countries who actually prepared for this rather than the UK who didn't. So this is the question that we should be asking right now, above all others, because this is how you deal with a charlatan that tries to say two different things as it suits them. Force them to say both things at the same time, and most people can easily see the disparity. Minister, how would you rate the disruption affecting goods passing from Britain to France? Oh, excellent. The teething problems have been largely sorted out. It's proceeding marvellously now. Minister, how would you rate the disruption affecting goods passing from Britain to Northern Ireland? Oh, it's terrible. It's a complete shambles and the EU should be ashamed of itself. It's a real threat to peace and the Good Friday Agreement is our overriding concern. French custom officials carry out checks on the French side of the border, don't they, Minister? Yes. And UK officials carry them out on the British to Northern Irish border, being inside the UK, don't they? No further questions. But there we are, simple as that. So now in this week, what have we had? David Frost, our unelected Brexit minister, has tried to say that there's no disruption or no significant disruption on goods passing from Britain to France, where the French are handling it, but severe disruption on goods passing from Britain to Northern Ireland, where there's fewer restrictions, but we are managing it. He has also said that his own withdrawal agreement is a complete shambles and that he didn't know what he was doing and that he didn't understand the consequences of the checks that would be required. There we go. Trashed his own deal, said he didn't know what he was doing, and now trying to say that the French are managing Brexit better than we are. Some Brexit minister. But there we go. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.